everybody. It's Justin Miller again, and I'm back with my other neighbor, Bryson Thomas, who just returned from his mission last night. So the first question is, tell us where you just came back from.
I just came back from the Philippines in the Baguio Mission.
Baguio, that's how you say it. So to you, I would say, saan ka pupunta?
Dito na ako.
You forgot to point, yeah. So I guess what everyone's going to want to know since you're returning from the Philippines is, I mean, there was pictures floating around Facebook of 5 airplanes full of nothing but missionaries. How did you get out of the Philippines? Tell us about that. And I heard you got to sit in first class.
I did. It was nice. So getting out of the Philippines was crazy. So I found out Monday night that I was going to be leaving the Philippines. So I actually walked in right as my mission president had gotten off the phone call with the area presidency. And basically he just kind of sat us down, got right to the point and said, all foreign missionaries are going home from the Philippines. He said, we have to be out of the country within the next 72 hours. So what we had to do is me and my companion had to get started with like trying to get everyone out of the country. So we started by just like, so Monday night we worked in the office until probably 3 a.m. We found out at probably 8 o'clock, and we just were on base on the phone for like a straight, 5 or whatever hours. Then we went home to pack that night, got to bed, then woke up again at like 4 after just a couple minutes of sleep. Got back to work, and then I was in the car. The next morning we took a car up to one of the furthest zones because they weren't going to let them out of like the city boundary.
Okay.
The police they had like roadblocks at the border of every city. So if you get through our whole mission, you actually go through like 4 or 5 cities on the national highway. And they were completely stopped by like border patrol or whatever. So they were only going to let them. Actually, what they did was the missionaries up there somehow during the night, after like between 10:30 and 4 in the morning, they got a hold of like 3 people who owned dump trucks. So they loaded those 13 missionaries from that zone in 3 dump trucks, put like plastic chairs in the back of these dump trucks, and rode down to the border that morning. And me and my companion and one of the senior couples each took a car, which like probably isn't allowed, but like the mission president's like told do whatever you can to get people out of the country. So we drove out to pick them up. So we picked them up at the border, and then we actually somehow were able to get through all the borders. The police were super nice because they saw a truck full of like Americans, And we're like, hey, we're just trying to get out of the country. So they're super cool about it. That night, so on Tuesday night we slept there. It was like 50 of us sleeping in like 3 little houses. Then the next morning there was like 12 passenger vans that showed up. They were going to take us down to Manila, where the airport is. So they showed up, and then the drivers wouldn't drive because they like went on strike basically once they showed up because they didn't think we had the clearance to get through the borders. Me and my companion managed to get a meeting with like the head of police for the whole city. So we ran over there, met with him, got clearance. He gave us like his personal phone number. Was like, you shouldn't have any problems, just go for it. We printed off like a paper from like the U.S. Embassy, gave it to the drivers, and then all 88 missionaries from my mission took off in like 12 passenger vans with all our gear, made it down to Manila. We got to the MTC in Manila where the place was like slammed. The place holds like 400 people, and we peaked with like 1,100 people there.
Wow. So
we were sleeping like sardines like in the hallways and stuff. So we did that we did that Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. So for 4 nights. And then we spent 1 night in a hotel the night before we flew out. Then we flew out Sunday. And then from the first flight, we flew from Manila to Tokyo. And on the next flight, me and this guy sitting next to you realized that like there's an empty seat up in the first class because all the senior couples are up there, and there's like an empty seat. And we're like, this is a charter plane. Like, why is no one using that seat? So we like asked the attendant, and they're like, well, we can't really tell you no because this is a chartered flight. And we're like, sweet. So you
just for like the first one to sit there gets it.
Yeah, because we walked up on our layover, we didn't get off the plane. So we just went up to talk to some of the senior couples that I was pretty good friends with because I was in the office for a minute. And so we went up just to talk to them. And then I was like, are those seats open there? Yeah, no one sat there. So we asked like the stewardess people, and they were like, well, we can't tell you no because it's a chartered flight. You guys paid for the whole plane. I was like, sweet. So that was nice.
Yeah, it's better than the middle seat. I saw those missionaries crammed middle seats, and I thought.
Yeah, it was kind of cool though to see like the whole thing just packed full of missionaries. There's so many of us.
Yep. Did you guys say a prayer on that plane?
No, we didn't. We did before we left though at the MTC. So it was cool. There's 1,869 missionaries that got pulled out of the Philippines.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool story, and Yeah. I'm going to ask you some of the other questions, but I could dwell on that because that's interesting to me. But um, what was your favorite part about where you served in the Philippines?
Um, I don't know. I really like kind of just the area I was in. We were in lots of like just like beautiful rice fields. Some of my areas had like a nice beach, and then just the people out there. Like even if they're not interested, they'll like let you talk to them. So we talked to tons of people. They're fairly receptive. Most of them are Catholics, you know.
Hmm.
But most of them like don't know the first thing about their religion. They've been to church like twice in their life, but they're like cool to talk about it. So it is a cool area to serve. It really is.
So I noticed that the city where the mission's headquartered is sort of inland a little bit,
Yeah.
and you guys go all the way towards San Fernando. That's where the beach is, right? Or like the
Yeah, so,
coast,
yeah,
right?
so San Fernando is where the mission office is. If you go up towards Baguio, up into the mountains, you're kind of up in the mountains there. It's a little bit colder up there. I was assigned there for like 4 months, but like everyone says it's cold, but I like never once put a jacket on.
You're
Like it's not
Utah.
really cold, you know.
Yeah.
But if you go up the other direction, you get into like it's basically just full. There'll be like a little tiny community of houses, and then just like a mile of rice fields and a little community of houses. And so that's how we'd like work. We'd like bike out to one area, spend the whole day there, and then bike home. Next,
Yeah.
we'd bike to another area, spend the whole day there.
What was your mission? What was your days like being a missionary?
So we actually talk quite a bit. So we'd wake up, get our stuff in the morning, then we'd leave the house at between 9 and 10 o'clock and get out to work because in the Philippines, they have like the whole siesta nap thing, you know? So from
Hmm.
like 1 to 3, you can't find like a single person to talk to. And so we would work in the morning, then we come home, do lunch, and like then in the afternoon we do lunch and like companion study and stuff, maybe a little bit of language study. And then we'd get out to in the afternoon we work until 9:30. And you could most areas you could kind of fill a day with appointments. If you had maybe a couple areas where you weren't teaching or whatever, a couple hours in a day, you just walk around and it's kind of nice because people don't stay inside of their houses because it's just so hot. It's just a tin roof and cement walls.
Yeah.
And so everyone's just like sitting on their porch. So I mean, you can just go around and talk to whoever. You can find people out in the fields. They'll stay in the field most of the day, but they take breaks like all day. So you can just go find them, talk to them for a while. So it's not terribly hard to talk to people. It's just hard to find people who are interested because they'll do like anything before they'll tell you no. So a lot of them will be like, yeah, sure, I guess you can teach us, and we teach them, and they're like, hey, can we come back? And they're like, yeah, I guess. So it is
Yeah.
kind of hard to find people that are like actually interested, but it's not hard to talk to people out there.
Hmm. Well, and the people I've interacted with from the Philippines here are super friendly, so that makes sense.
Yeah, they're
What you're
super
saying.
friendly, which makes it kind of
Um,
sometimes it's good.
tell us about some of the people that you will remember forever, like families that you taught or people you got close to.
So one of my favorites is in my first area. There was a lady named Crizel. Her husband was a member. He'd served a mission, but she was really Catholic. She actually was fairly active in Catholic church. Her grandma was like an apostolata or something, which like she had a calling at the church. She was one of the ladies that like go around and pray at like funerals and stuff like that. So she was super touched. She ended up going through 3 baptismal dates. And she wasn't baptized when I was with my first companion. It was once I was with my second companion. But she was just super cool because she wanted to make sure she knew it was right before she changed. Not just because it was her husband or because whatever. And so we taught her a lot. But then I just remember we promised her what we did was like, if you figure out the Book of Mormon, you'll know the church is true. Like that's what her testimony had to hinge on. So we did is we went home, we made a list of 10 chapters in the Book of Mormon, and then we handed them to her. We promise you if you read all 10 of these and like think about what they mean, you'll know the church is true.
Mm-hmm.
And, like the next week after she had read like all 10 chapters, it was like probably after a week and a half, she read like a chapter a day. We went back and she's like, the Book of Mormon is true. And we're like, all right, if that's true, then Joseph Smith was a prophet. If he's a prophet, there's a prophet today. If there's a prophet today, then the church is true. And then she accepted the third baptismal day that we extended to her.
Cool.
She was baptized just before I left the area.
It's pretty awesome when you're a missionary, you can make those promises and know they're going to happen.
Yeah, it's cool. Then there's another. It was a part member family. It was super cool. So some of these kids, they're baptized. They're probably 16, 17 years old. But their mom, who's old, she has kids that are like in their 40s now. The mom's like probably 60. But she had listened to lots of missionaries for probably 2 years, but had never made the decision to be baptized or never come to church. But it's like happened to be her time. And it was super cool. We taught her, and she's like 1 week just showed up to church and came like 4 weeks in a row and was baptized. It was super cool. And then she wanted like all of her kids to get baptized. So we started teaching a bunch of her kids. One time we actually taught her husband once. And it was super fun. We were teaching him. All of a sudden, some of his kids came up to the house. They lived kind of on the top of this hill. They came up to the top of this house and they're what's happening? And we're like, what? It was the first time that their dad had ever sat in a lesson for the 2 years that missionaries had come to the house like every week for 2 years because a bunch of people in their family had been baptized. But it was the first time that he'd ever sat in a lesson. So they sat up and like super confused. And then my last week in that area, he attended church for the first time. And so now I talked to the missionaries who were there before. He had a baptism one day. He was supposed to be baptized probably this coming Saturday. But I don't know what'll happen because there's not missionaries there now. So I'll follow up with some members and stuff. But it was cool to see him like kind of progress. It was finally just like happened to be their time. Then we baptized another 3 of like her like nieces and nephews. All got baptized. There's like a big group of them. It just like kind of happened to be their time when we were there. I was in that area for like 7 months. That was my longest area. So I was really close to them, and it was kind of like things worked out pretty well.
Those are cool stories. Are there local missionaries left over in your mission, or is there?
Yeah, there are. There are. So when I left, there was like 35 companionships left in the mission.
Wow.
So once we had left, but then there's a few of those who should go home the next few weeks with this transfer, and then like the next transfer after that. And I've heard they're actually given the choice. Like if their family really wants them to come home, they can come home. So I don't know how many there'll be when it's all said and done. But the problem is that there's 39 units in our mission, like wards or branches.
Okay.
So already there's like not even enough for each branch to have a unit, or each branch to have a set of missionaries.
Yeah.
When I was there serving, there was between 2 and 3 sets for every branch and every ward.
So how you bring up branches and wards, like of those 39 units, like how many were wards and how many were branches, or did you serve in wards, or just like what did you?
So I served in my first 2 areas were wards, and then my last 3 were branches.
Okay.
It's pretty well split in our area. There's like 3 stakes and then 2 districts in our mission.
What role did the members play in your missionary work?
The members, I didn't do a ton of teaching with members. Most of it, if we were teaching with members, was because we were teaching at their house, teaching like part members. So we really focus a lot on part members. If there's a member in the house, we were always at that house trying to like find out who else or who their relatives were. Because in the Philippines, they live like, you'll go to like one little compound of say 5 or 6 houses, and they're all related. They all have the same last name. They're all, So if there's like one member in that compound, we'd like pound those like 5 houses around them. So we didn't do a lot of like taking members like walk around with us and go find people and go teach, but lots of our lessons were taught with members because we were teaching at their houses or like their next door neighbors and stuff like that. That's kind of what the big focus is in our mission, and it worked pretty well.
How do you feel like your testimony changed while you were a missionary?
It was cool. I watched like lots of missionaries kind of come and go, and I love that they come back like the testimonies are so simple. I definitely learned a ton of doctrine, love studying the scriptures and whatever, but like, it's fun to be a missionary because you teach everything so simply, you can't do it any other way because the people you're teaching don't know anything. So it's cool. Like my testimony grew like crazy, but like really kind of got super simple. Like the gospel really is like so simple. We know what we have to do and you just do it,
Can you think of any spiritual experience that you can share that you'll remember forever?
One was definitely we taught this lady that we were trying to, the grandma of like all these kids, and we taught her and we were teaching like the plan of salvation. And she'd kind of like not really been terribly interested, we got through the restoration, we taught the Book of Mormon, and she's like, yeah, like, my kids some of my kids already baptized, they believe in that, whatever. So we taught the plan of salvation. We just asked like, have you ever thought about, where you came from, what you're doing here, where you're going? She's like, yeah, we're here to like be good and like follow the commandments and whatever. She's Catholic, so she was like, yeah, we kind of knew, but didn't really, Then we talked about the like afterlife, and we just said like, your family can be together if you all follow Christ's teaching. If you do what Christ told us we have to do in this life. And she just like broke down, and she's like, I've been Catholic my whole life, and I kind of believe that like, God has a plan for us after this life. But I never knew like what it was like. And she's like, this explains it perfectly. So we went through like kind of the afterlife and just said, the members of your family that are baptized. And then it was kind of cool because she asked about, she had lost like 2 kids. She had like 12 kids and 2 of them had died, at different points in her life. And so we said, you'll be able to see them again. And, then one of her kids actually already been to the temple. So we taught a little bit about temples and said, you can even do the work for them so you can see every member of your family. And it's super cool because she just like broke down and was like, that totally makes sense. Like, of course God has a plan for us, and of course it doesn't end after death. And, of course we have to do things to make it possible for that to happen. But it was cool because she had like this like light bulb moment where she was like, I can be with my family again. That's what kind of like helped her testimony. It was that next week that she showed up to church for the first time, which is super cool.
That's awesome. What ended up happening with her after that?
She was baptized. Like she was the one that came to church like 4 weeks in a row, was baptized. Then we also, her husband was the one that had came to church my last week in that area. Should be baptized this Saturday. I don't know if I'll go for. Then we baptized 3 of like her grandkids, and then she has 4 kids who are members, and like their husbands and wives are members. So there's like a pretty good group of them now. But she has 10 kids. There's still like 6 of them that are members. There's still lots of work to do there. It was cool to kind of be a part of.
Awesome. Well, if we get too much longer, then YouTube won't let us upload it. So that's the questions I've got for you. But it's good to hear your stories and feel your spirit.
Yeah.
And welcome back.
Thank you.